hello. Now, am I mistaken? There we go. The music was still going. Sorry about that. I hope that this is working. This is the first time that I will have been... Okay, cool. First time doing a live stream with such an elaborate rig that there's a lot of moving parts, and I'm still figuring everything out. So forgive me for, the lack of a extremely smooth intro, but we're getting the hang of this. What an amazing year it has been, it will be, it's moving forward into, and yes, I am just referring to today so far, and I hope that yours is going well as well. Happy New Year, 2021. This past year, 2020, was a remarkable time for everybody, one that deserved some recognition and some conversation around it. And, there's a lot of people looking at, the YouTube Rewind, the year in review, looking at 2020. And there's been a lot of stress and a lot of trauma and a lot of... It's been crazy. It's been a crazy year for everyone. But what's really beautiful about this is that it actually is one day we as a species are going to look back and we're going to be able to say, wow, that was the most important thing that could have ever happened to us as a species. And we're so grateful that it did. As much of the suffering that there was, as much of the chaos and the craziness, it was necessary. Because humanity, whether we like to admit it or not, we're like a herd of buffalo running towards the edge of a cliff. And there was no turning. There was no changing the course. It seemed as though things were out of control. And what the pandemic offered us was an opportunity to have a collective antagonist, a collective force, a collective thing that we could, as a species, deal with together. And now, of course, even therein, there's a great deal of confusion, separation, levels of paradigms of perspective on this particular subject. Everything from the whole conspiracy side of things, COVID made in the lab, it was released, it was a purposeful attack on humanity, all the way to, this was just like a fluke happenstance that put all of us into, quarantine and hope to God that there's a vaccine. Those are like the two kind of fundamental dividing perspectives, and then, the whole spectrum in between. And people just trying to get by, people trying to live their lives, find out what are they going to do with their lives moving forward. A lot of people lost their jobs and were put into very difficult situations as a result of it. But the collective mix-up, the collective destabilization of society has shown us exactly how fragile our society is. It's showed us just how, one pandemic can completely put everybody into, it can cause economic systems, financial systems, people's livelihoods, the normal that we used to call normal, the crazy life that we used to have pre-2020, will never come back. And we got a clear lens of just how much things can be shifted, how much, things can change as a result of something as simple as a virus that, for lack of a better word, seems to be no more harmful than the common cold, than the average flu. So what does this mean moving forward? Now, this live stream is called Weaving a New Narrative. And we are the ones writing the story. And I wanted to take a moment to have this little Happy New Year live stream to talk about what this means for all of us and something for us to frame our minds around as we move forward. We're in this situation right now where the future is open to us. We can And we are collectively steering where we go. From this destabilization, there has been this mix-up, but if anything, it's invited so many of us to frame ourselves into a new state of consciousness, a new state of being. Whether we're aware of it or not, like there's even this little collective that we have here, this conversation that we're having, is one where this is not a conversation that's making headlines on, global international news. This is like the conversation of the evolution of consciousness is not a mainstream conversation, but people are at least still talking about something different, even if it's, different from what it was before. So I want to invite you to think about for yourself, now moving forward into 2021, what is the new narrative? What is the story that we are weaving? Because our species, we are creators made in the image of the Creator. This is this kind of classic biblical phrase that has been passed down from aeon to aeon through history books and time again. And if this is so, then that naturally means that we are in the position of creating our realities. But the question, of course, is how do we do that? And I believe that we find the answer to this with the power of our words, the power of the stories that we tell. If we tell the story for ourselves that we are living a life of being manipulated by a deep state, controlled by the global, massive multi-billion corporations that are taking humanity wherever they want to, and it's completely up to them, and we are powerless, then that becomes the basis of the reality that you live. And so then you have to ask yourself, does that sound like a fun story? It's a relevant one because we just made the conspiracy theory of everything, and if you've been following that, you might have seen that we just completed that story just days ago. And the finale of all of the conspiracy theories takes it into a direction that I'm not sure if a lot of people were expecting. Ascension. What could that mean? Is that a story that we want to tell ourselves? Or do we want to just tell the story of, we're doing our best, we're trying to get by, which has a very narrow and limited focus to it, doesn't it? And so, very interestingly, a year ago, for those of you who have been watching this channel for a while, you might remember that about a year ago, I published an interview that I did with Gerard Powell, who is the founder of Rhythmia, the world's first medically licensed ayahuasca healing center in Costa Rica, which is an absolutely amazing place. And if you've never heard of it, please watch our video, our movie, Are Miracles Real? The Secret Mysteries of Ayahuasca. It will explain everything for you. But that interview that I did with Gerard, it was called The Secrets of Spiritual Business. But at the end of it, I asked him, I said, Jerry, in a video that you did recently, you said that this was going to be the decade of the shift. And what does that mean? And he's like, this next 10-year window is going to be so transformative for us as a species that life will never be the same again. And we will never go back to the way things were. Just you wait, he said. This was in January of 2020. So little did we know, and we filmed it in December. We filmed it, I think, that one was probably filmed over New Year's, I believe. Just at the tail end of December, maybe January 1st or something like that. But it was remarkable to see how on point he was with the claim, the decade of the shift. And we are only at the very beginning. The narrative that was started by the pandemic of 2020 is 2020 ended and people, maybe there's this kind of collective feeling of okay, the devil year is over. Things are going to be better now, moving forward, right? And it's that, okay, well, one, that hope is really good. It's good for us to hold to this kind of hopeful, optimistic state and lead with that, with our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. But the energy is just beginning. This is a 10-year window, even if numerologically, if you look at it, 2020. And now we've got 2021, 22, 23, up until 2030. And then we've got a new frequency with the introduction of the 3 energy. So this whole wave, everything that we're going through right now, is completely necessary, and it's very important, and it's something that we all must face as a species at the various levels of paradigms of existence that we're resonating to. For some people, wearing a mask and getting the vaccine and just feeling safe is the perfect thing for them, because that's where their consciousness is at. And for other people who are thinking bigger, people who are exploring maybe a wider scope of possibilities within the realms of what we call collectively reality, might have a different awareness. And for other people, it doesn't make sense to be afraid of this thing. It doesn't make sense to get the vaccine. It doesn't make sense to follow in that mainstream narrative that is being told. So this is really the dichotomy that we're having right now, which is that there are these kind of split narratives. These, there's the mainstream narrative that is happening, the everything from the political thing to the pandemic and all of this stuff. And then there's this sort of the other paradigm, the other narrative is a crystalline rainbow geometric lattice of potential, as so many people are exploring different possibilities and outcomes, different realities, different ways of looking at life, the universe, and everything that's within it. And there's a way that actually a dear friend of mine, Ben, who is the new headmaster of Spirit Mysteries, has recently shared, which was just amazing to see. He described, I have to read this out to you because I can't possibly remember all of the details, but it's like there's all of these different perspectives and they're all coming together. It's the UFO conspiracy people, the we must live minimally to save the earth people, the I meditate and therefore I'm spiritual people, the I must prepare for the militia government takeover with food and guns people, the economic systems are creating and funding war and conflict people, the ancient civilizations provide the solution for our salvation kind of people. There's the people who are focused on the reptilian overlords who are, controlling and manipulating the whole global story from the highest echelons of our systems kind of people. The plant medicine is the cure kind of people. I think I'd fall into that category a little bit. And the people who rail against the medical systems who are keeping everybody sick, as well as I read insider testimony and I'm awaiting a financial reset kind of people. And that's just the beginning of it. The list that Ben came up with was amazing to see all of these different paradigms, these different perspectives that are outside of the mainstream, that are kind of in their own pockets of existence, but are all kind of coming together a little bit around this evolution of consciousness, right? Around this new way of looking at the world, new way of thinking, new way of being, new way of breathing even. And so as these groups come together, there's going to be destabilization, more to come, just as much as we had, but in different ways. 2020 was a year of physical destabilization. We changed physically. We separated from each other. We isolated ourselves, some of which was probably very healthy for us to have some time alone. On the other hand, there's a very good case to make that the separation from ourselves and the disconnection from each other was very unhealthy from the fact that we are social creatures and we need each other. We've built a massive global society on the fact that we're connected and interconnected. And we have to come to the roots of those connections. But in those connections, in the awareness of the interconnected energy between us, we have to recognize that it's okay that we're different as well. Like, unity consciousness does not mean that we all think exactly the same about every little thing. Unity consciousness is not like you have to agree with me or with, whoever, like the government or the person who's in charge, whoever that is. Like, it goes beyond that. It's like a way of compassionately honoring our differences and saying, yeah, you exist in this paradigm and I honor you for it. I respect you for existing. And I wish you the best within that, within your paradigm that you embody. And that's beautiful. That's a wonderful thing, to be able to hold that level of compassion. Because the truth is that if we go into the future, even right now, just like feel in within yourself, if you're holding a space of I'm right and everyone else is wrong, or I'm going to be safe, I'm going to be saved, from what, if it's the aliens or Jesus or whatever, but everyone else is damned, and because they all suck and they're sinners and they're bad people, and we're holding that resonance, we're holding that story for them, then we're actually putting that energy on them. We're putting that intention for them. We're holding that space for other people and actually limiting them from wanting anything to do with what you might have to share, no matter how valuable it is. You might have the secrets to ultimate transcendence within you, the keys to the end of suffering. But if you're approaching someone saying, "Hey, listen, you suck, and you're and you're killing yourself, and I'm gonna help you save your life," they're gonna be like, it's a frequency of like such judgment. And we have to be able to let go of our judgments if we are going to really create anything of transcendent benefit for all. Because who knows, from the highest perspective of the creation, from the source field, from the perspective of the source field beyond the reality that we can currently conceive, at the highest levels of existence, everything that might be happening, even the evil parts of society, might be perfectly in alignment with what is required in order for us to have an ascension experience, if that is the paradigm we choose to believe in, because of course that falls to each of us to decide. And so be authentically yourself. That's it. I mean, this is the bottom line for this even this narrative, this expression here that I want to share with you is be authentically yourself. What is the story that you are telling yourself? And as a fun reminder to just to drop into this, bring a little ancient wisdom in here for a moment, I'd like to reference a passage from the Hermetica, one of the ancient writings. You might be familiar actually with, even in the Bible, it said that Jesus was the Word of God. And what is the Word of God, right? And so the concept of the Word, or the Word of God, goes far beyond Christianity and descending into ancient Egyptian times. But Jesus you could consider as the Word made flesh. But the Word as a concept, again, going back, and I just so happen to have this book here with me. Oh gosh, what a coincidence. Is that there's a line in here that explains it. After a profound visionary experience that Hermes has in his initiation, his guide asks, "Do you understand the secrets of this vision? I am the light, the mind of God, which exists before the chaotic dark waters of potentiality. My calming word is the Son of God, the idea of beautiful order, the harmony of all things with all things. Primal mind is parent of the word, just as in your own experience, your human mind gives birth to speech. They cannot be divided, one from the other, for life is the union of mind and word. Now fix your attention upon the light and become one with it." And just think about that for a moment. Specifically, it's like life is the union of mind and word. Also, that the Word of God is the Son of the mind of God, right? And then it is related very clearly back between the relationship between our mind and our word. And so our human minds give birth to speech, and it is within that speech that we create things. We create everything. Like the concept of, let's say, everything from... Let's just go with the technology that we all have and are using right now to enjoy this broadcast, and literally everything around us. Don't you think there was some conversation involved in the creation of any of those things? For the people to collaborate, they had to have ideas and then share them with each other. And it's through that sharing that creates mental synapses, not just within our minds, but between us as a great collective electromagnetic grid of human consciousness, that we are a reflection internally and externally of each other. So our environment is a reflection of what's inside of us, and our internal environment is a reflection of the kinds of connections that we make outside of us. And it's through our words, through our storytelling, through the way that we identify with the stories and the stories that we tell ourselves that gives us either hope or fear about the life that we have. If you're going to, again, it's like, there's too many examples that are coming to my mind. We go with the conspiracy one because it's come up a lot, and we just did the conspiracy theory of everything. The full movie coming very soon, by the way. But if we look at all of the conspiracy stuff, let's say the integration with technology, and we look at it with fear, then we live our lives in fear, and that resonance keeps us anchored into a very dense or fear-based paradigm. But if we look at it and we're able to say, okay, this is an interesting story, this is where things are going, that might be very fascinating. What is my role to play in this whole thing? And you start asking yourselves those kinds of questions, you empower yourself to be able to create something so much more beautiful because you're free of the fear that you were telling yourself before, right? So what's your narrative? What is your story? And that is the summary, the closure of this particular address today. So thank you so much for watching. And before we move into the question and answers, I have some announcements. Hey, look, see, this is so cool. This little, oh man. Okay, so a couple of announcements. 2020 was a year of massive growth and change for spirit science. And if you've been following for this year, just thank you so much for all of your love, your comments, your likes, your subscribes, here on YouTube. I don't know if you saw, but it was like the end of November, I believe, we passed 1 million subscribers, and this was such an exciting thing for the whole team. It's something that we knew it was going to happen at the very beginning of the year, as long as we just kept going, with our work, and we went the distance. We really put in the effort to make a lot of content. And I don't know if you've seen, but I think this year we probably close to doubled, if not more so, the amount of content that we made in the 9 years. So just to frame this, okay, 9 years of content, that same amount of content we published in 1 year in 2020. This extreme focusing, lasering in of the amount of stuff that we were publishing. We got to the point where by the end of December, we were posting 4 videos a week. We had Spirit Science on Mondays. We had Conspiracy Theory of Everything on Wednesdays, Hidden Spirituality on Fridays, and a Patch Parable on Saturday morning for Saturday morning cartoons. And so this was huge for us and the team, and we really grew a lot. Even the Spirit Studios went from being a team of a couple people. Actually, at the very end of 2019, it was one. I had sort of released a lot of my team members. I had a few, the accountants and stuff that I was working with, but otherwise, the core team was me. And then I brought in another person, 2, 3, and it quickly expanded. And the beginning of 2020, we brought in 2 animators and 3 editors, and started working like crazy on just producing a lot of content. And I spent a good chunk of the year training the editors and the animation team and everybody to get to the level of experience that I had, because I've been making cartoons since I was about 12 years old. So things grew a lot, but at the same time, it was a big strain on me, and so it got to the point where my work hours were so outrageous that I barely got enough time to sleep and rest and enjoy myself or to practice even my spiritual practices, because I was so always have to be working to meet the demand of making sure that we get the latest content up, both for Spirit Science publicly here on YouTube, but also over on the Spirit Mysteries and our whole online school, our platform for the evolution of consciousness, which if you haven't learned anything about, or if you're new to Spirit Mysteries, I would highly recommend checking it out at spiritmysteries.com. And so this was a huge burden to bear, and it got to the point where I kind of was having a bit of my own little crisis, my own breakdown. And I had to take some time to rest. And that's why even just in the last couple of weeks, you've seen a slowdown of the content a little bit. And so moving forward, this is the first announcement. Sorry, this is like a long thing to get to one announcement, so I'll try and keep it simple moving forward. But the first announcement is that moving forward for the foreseeable future, we're going to be dialing it back in a little bit with our content team, and we're going to really refine our systems and focus on just spirit science. So I know that there's been a lot of love and joy and a lot of wonderful reception for our series like Hidden Spirituality and Patch Parables, but we're going to be taking some time to really just dial in the process with spirit science and being able to separate myself from it a little bit so that I can be a part of it, but I'm not required at every stage, so that the team can really step into their own and take on more responsibilities as well. So we're going to be going down to one video a week for a little while, focusing more on the spirit science episodes themselves, which, let's face it, are the things that everyone requests the most of anyways. And also potentially doing more live streams, more live content. This is a bit of an experiment to see, how do you like me on camera? It's a bit of an experiment because spirit science has predominantly been mostly an animated channel up until now. And there was an experience, well, it was an experience for me. It was a video that I posted at the end of maybe October-ish 2019, where I asked, what would it look like to have more live action content on spirit science? Would you like that? And people were like, yeah, let's go for it. And then I tried making one video and it didn't go so well. So I kind of backed off, and we focused on building up the studio and launching the Mystery School and all this, and having more of the live content and the workshops inside of Spirit Mysteries, and getting more, at least for myself, getting more confident on camera, because let's face it, doing a big public address I'm in the hot seat right now. So it is what it is. But if this video resonates, if this live address resonates, and I hope it does, because I put a lot of work into all these like little, the boxes and the texts and making it look pretty. But if this resonates, please let me know. Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll do more of these. We also have a Spirit Science Live podcast channel, and the podcast is available on all the podcast places. So if you're on Spotify or iTunes or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts, you can probably find Spirit Science Live, or of course on our YouTube channel as well. You can watch our podcasts here too. And so there's links to those all over the place, or just, youtube.com/Spirit Science Live. Yeah. So yeah, and then we have a Team Spirit channel. So like basically just more live content. And I'll talk more about Team Spirit in the future, but we have at this point a really amazing team behind Spirit Science. I'm so grateful every single day for the quality of people that Spirit Science has brought together to create all of this content that you're seeing. It's not just me anymore, to be very clear. I'm the guy, because I started the whole thing. But, a lot of people will comment on new Spirit Science episodes and say like, wow, Jordan, thank you for this video. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I helped do the final edit on the script and I recorded it, maybe a final pass on the video, but otherwise we've got an amazing writer and writing team, an amazing animation team and editing team. And like, they all deserve so much love and so much props. So it's so much more than me, and I want to make sure that everyone really gets the credit for like that it's shared, because I don't want to hog the spotlight. It's not really all just me. Spirit Science is and has always been about a collaborative project, a collaborative thing for us to share together. And even though I'm the voice of Patchman, that doesn't mean that there can't be other voices and participations all throughout the whole thing. So with that, stay tuned for more live content, I suppose. I'm seeing a lot of people saying like, I like it, it's good. So that's great. Yeah, awesome. The final thing is, this is sort of a fun one, but with the conversation about doing more live content, there has been this conversation of like, there's a couple of team members, myself included, who are fans of online gaming. One of the animators, one of my lead animators, plays Overwatch competitively. I play Super Smash Ultimate competitively, actually. And it's just like a fun thing. But we were talking about what if we did like a Spirit Science gaming channel, and we actually had like tournaments and that whole thing. So that's coming, and I'm saying it. I'm making this announcement right here so that we can so that you can hold me to this, because there's a lot going on, and I do get very busy with a lot of different things. And part of my intention with this is like a fun thing that I can do that also counts as work, but also is something that I enjoy as like a more of a recreational thing. And so with that said, stay tuned, because upcoming launch of a gaming channel as well as a gaming Discord with gaming tournaments and a Twitch feed are on the way for those of you who are interested in that kind of stuff. So with that, I think that brings me to the end of my announcements for today. Thank you so much again for listening. And at long last, I know some of you have probably been waiting. It's time for our Q&A. So I have like a live stream right here, we all have the live stream right here, the YouTube chat feed. And so I'm seeing all of these, everything that's popping up from you guys. And there's so many messages, and I apologize for not being able to really read them during the main address, because I just felt like it's, necessary to just keep the focus. So with that said, what kind of questions do you have? Let me just like throw them out here, and I'm gonna read them, and I'm gonna watch them come in. The first thing that I'm seeing here, Unconditional Love writes, how about a normal Spirit Science Discord? So we actually we have a Spirit Mysteries Discord right now, and part of the thing is that having a community space needs to be managed and moderated. I've been through this a lot in the past before, where we, like, for example, in the original, when Spirit Science first started, I launched a forum, and it was largely unmoderated or moderated by volunteers kind of thing. And it just got very out of hand. People were having power struggles left and right. I was hardly participating because I got so busy with other things, and it just became this disaster. And so we take a lot of time and effort in cultivating a very sacred space for everybody, to make sure that it's safe, to make sure that people are taken care of, and like questions are answered, and it's there's no hate speech, there's no cruelty that happens in the space, because that can happen, and people can come in and claim to be the utmost highest representation of divinity, and that if people don't listen to them, then it's not a good vibe. So a regular Spirit Science Discord may happen, but we have to find out how to do it in a way that we can moderate it, and it works within the collective greater systems of everything that we're creating. Okay, moving on. More questions. How many are conscious creator exist? I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm going to say that there's one supreme creator that is moving through all things at all times and is all supremely interwoven through the fabric of time and space. But if you're asking how many creators there are in a part of Spirit Science, probably at least 15. It's like our main team is probably about 15, and then we do have some volunteers inside of Spirit Mysteries, which would probably bring it to like 20 to 25. Yeah, it's probably somewhere around there. When's Mobius, the 24-hour live stream, coming back? Okay, I don't know that Mobius is coming back, but we do want to explore with other possibilities of radio stations, because I really like Transcendence Radio, and that might change to even being Soundlight Radio, because it is really the Soundlight experience that Elijah Ray has produced, and he's just amazing. Mobius kind of went away because there wasn't as much interest, and I think that part of the challenge with it was that when we first launched it, there was a lot of people coming and tuning in, and then it actually broke my computer. I had a Mac Mini that was running it here just out of my house, and the whole thing ended up, it didn't go so well. After running for like 24 hours, it fried the computer. The computer's okay, don't worry, but it was like, we need a server. So that took some time, and then when we relaunched it afterwards, the hype kind of wasn't there. So maybe would have been a different story if we waited and just went with the server first, but it was kind of an experiment. So probably not going to be doing Mobius, but other kinds of live streams will come soon. So maybe a little bit more like this, but we'll see. You know, keep on requesting things, and if you have specific requests, let me know. Have you ever read Anastasia and the Ringing Cedars book series? No, I have not, but I'll write a note of it. Anastasia book. So we'll see what comes of that. I have a lot of books on the go right now, but yeah. I don't know what Transcendence Radio is, but I love it. Check out our YouTube channel. There's a radio station where we're playing a consistent, like, 24-hour 365 loop of amazing music. It's actually really beautiful, and it facilitates a shift in consciousness. There's people who have said that they feel like their body is vibrating from listening to it. It's really powerful. Do you have subject matter goals for 2021? That's great. So yes and no. You know, there's this sort of a free flow happening, like where we want to come from a very creative, open-hearted space and just, you know, create whatever feels right. But at the same time, there are a few projects in specific that we're looking at tackling and finishing. So one is, at least for myself, I definitely want to see the Sumerian epic at long last come to an end. We did, like, the Nibiru movie was 2018, the Anunnaki movie was 2019, and the surprise finale movie is going to be 2021. And then putting it all together it'll probably be like a 6 to 8 hour epic movie. I also want to finish the Tarot series and the Tree of Life series. And there's been a lot of requests for content that's a little bit more darker, actually facing like the darker stuff. Our 50th episode was about toxic positivity, and that one was very popular, actually. A lot of people were enjoying that video and requesting more videos like it. So we actually do have some content about the Qliphote, which is the Tree of Death, like the reverse aspects of the Tree of Life, or the negative aspects. And sort of the darker parts of reality a little bit. So there are some content like that we're looking to create. There's also a 2-parter that we want to do about heaven and hell, and sort of how those weave in with, you know, how we exist through them, and where they are, how they exist around us, and this kind of thing. So I would say there's going to be a lot of spirit science coming soon. Yeah. So yeah. Is there an easy access index of spirit science and affiliated content? I mean, I would probably say our YouTube channel and the playlists would be one of the best ways to identify and sort through all the content. But there's also on our blog on spiritsciencecentral.com /blog, I think, there's tags and categories for all the different kinds of content that we make. So if you wanted to sort some of our episodes and our kinds of videos, you could use that, and that might be a really good way to go. Do you have any recommendations for spiritual anime or cartoons like Avatar? Yes, The Dragon Prince. 100% The Dragon Prince. It's like my new favorite show from the end of last year. It is profoundly amazing, actually, and it's produced by the same company, or at least one of the same producers who did Airbender, and the main character is voiced by the guy who does Sokka. And there's, at least for me in my reality, dragon energy and just stories about dragons. I went through Aragon and the inheritance cycle again. Dragons have been coming in huge, full force, as well as, you know, even the Sophia Code and the Sophia Dragon Council, as it's called. So the Dragon Prince was very fitting into everything that I was kind of going through, and I just completely fell in love with it. It's a really beautiful story, and if you liked Airbender, you would definitely love Dragon Prince. It's on Netflix. Wow, there's so many questions. Okay, I'm gonna do my best. Maybe answer, let's say, 3 more, and then we'll call it here for today. So let's take a look here. There's a lot of like, have you heard of blank? And there's sometimes where I haven't. So I'm just going to kind of pass those because I don't know how to answer them other than being like, no. Are you planning of opening a forum for us to interact more or something like that? It's on the list. Well, we're talking about, actually, yeah, I will say that there's been an idea in the works for a long time that is like kind of like a new spirit science social network. And I don't know that I really can and should talk more about it, because it's a lot of, like, I guess, hypothetical. We're not sure exactly how it'll look, how it'll work, how it'll feel, but that has been in the talks, and we've been waiting for the right time for us to be able to tackle that, because the list of like to-dos has been very long. I mean, the projects that we have on our list, we're trying to segment things into like quarterly, like what can we do in the next 90 days kind of thing. And right now a big focus is within Spirit Mysteries. So actually, like, as far as your question of like opening a forum or something to interact more, the best place for that right now is Spirit Mysteries. Spirit Mysteries is a private membership platform for the evolution of consciousness, where everyone who is there because they're working on themselves actively. And to join and become an initiate, actually, it is a paid membership. And this is the reason why we did the Spirit Science Money series and the Money movie, is that it's an investment in yourself, but it's also a support for all of Spirit Science to continue growing. But and definitively, it's a way of saying, like, for all of the trolls who might just join and just spam crap and hate, they don't go there. They couldn't possibly exist. So this is a really powerful, high vibrating community of light workers and light warriors who are genuinely in it to win it, who are in it for their own transcendence and the evolution of our collective consciousness. So I would say, like, yes, there might be a free thing in the future. And again, we're talking about doing some kind of social network, but the real community and the powerful community, the space that we're doing like live gatherings every week and doing monthly full moon and new moon ceremonies, and just even live retreats and events. We have a group trip to Rhythmia coming up soon, as well as there's talks about going to a mystical yoga farm to do like a retreat all together. That's happening inside of Spirit Mysteries. And so I would encourage, if that's of interest to you, go and check out spiritmysteries.com. Okay, that was one question. We got two more to go. So, wow. Okay, sorry, they're coming in so fast. Let me just slow down here. Can you make, well, on that subject, can you make Spirit Mysteries free now? No, we can't. So this year, if you saw all of the, earlier I was describing all of the content that we created this year, 4 videos a week at one point, that costs money to do. I don't think people actually realize how much it costs to have a team of animators and editors working on things. And where does that come from, right? If we didn't have Spirit Mysteries, Spirit Science would probably not have posted nearly anything this year. And I'm being really serious about that. For me to personally write, script, record, edit, animate, the whole shebang, for every video is a complete full-time job for me, and I don't get any breaks. And that doesn't include anything else. That doesn't even necessarily lead to being able to afford to live. Because when I did that before, I was doing it from my parents' basement. And so Spirit Mysteries as a platform is actually supporting all of this growing, really, and in evolving. So no, and actually it's also an invitation to change our relationship and the way that we think about money. And this is, again, if you haven't seen the Spirit Science Money movie, I think it's 37 or 30, maybe? Episode 37, 38, maybe. That series invites us to take a look at resources and finances differently. And that's something that if the idea of paying for a membership of anything frustrates you or is a struggle, that's something to look at within you as to why. And often what it actually comes down to is self-worth. It actually comes down to, I don't know that I feel confident enough, or I don't feel like I can't afford that, so you shouldn't do that because I'm spiritual, right? There's all these different feelings and ideas kind of weave together to create this narrative of like you shouldn't pay for something if it's spiritual or something like that. But what's very interesting is that even if you go back to my favorite example is Jesus, but it also applies to, the Tibetan, the Buddhists, and the monks up in the mountains and everything like that, is that they had a price as well. Jesus had a price, And it was far more than a monthly membership fee. His price was drop everything and follow me right now. Give up your life. Follow me. His price was your life. How, I mean, that's a big price, right? That's like your job, your livelihood, maybe your family. You have to give all of it up. And you have to follow him definitively till the end of time. That's a very expensive arrangement. Worth it, but expensive, right? So we have to look at value differently. We have to look at what exchange means. And regardless, whether you join Spirit Mysteries or not, it's okay. You're still so dearly loved. And we will continue to produce tons of free content here on Spirit Science, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Hopefully we'll get to Twitter one day. I never use Twitter, but we have one, and I should probably use it a little bit more. Okay, one final question. So I'm going to scroll. Let's see what comes up. Wow, there's so many comments. Okay. Let me see. It's a lot to take in. I love you guys so much. You know, this is relevant, although it's like one guy. So this is like, do I comment on this? I mean, there's like one or two people, no, just one guy who's saying, you know, commenting even on like, well, you're selling out because you're talking about money. What exactly does that mean? I would invite them to think about, you know? It's like, if you would prefer me to live in my parents' basement and make one video once in a while, I could do that, but Spirit Science will never grow, and we'll never be able to build a giant pyramid healing center all over the world, or many pyramid healing centers all over the world, if we don't change the relationship that we have with resources. So still going to look for that one final question, because I don't think that last one really counts. I'm going to have to scroll up a little bit. What spirit mystery story do you recommend for a science fiction writer? Okay, that one I love to answer. The Inheritance Cycle. The absolute... Now, this is... When you say spirit mystery story, I don't know exactly... Like, I'm taking that as if to say, like, a mystical story for a science fiction writer. If you're looking for inspiration, The Inheritance Cycle. I'm still working on my science fiction story, so I'm not done on that yet, and I can't recommend it. But I definitely recommend Christopher Paolini's The Inheritance Cycle, starting with Aragon, Eldest, Brissinger, and Inheritance, is the most profound and transformative book series and cycle that I've ever read in my life. It is so beautiful and actually teaches about the nature of wisdom and consciousness and psychic connection. It's really amazing, and I highly, highly recommend it. You know, this one just popped up here. I find it very easy if you tag at Spirit Science when you're doing the question. It makes it very easy to find. But maybe I can work on this as well in the future with like a team member of mine to like go in and like parse through the questions and then just have them to me in a private window. But do you miss your outside work of reporting while traveling? I don't know exactly what that means, but I when I first read it, I just read it as, do you miss your like being able like. No, I read it as like, do you miss traveling and stuff? But I definitely misread it the first time I saw it. My outside work, I don't really have outside work. This is my work. I've made Spirit Science my life. This is my full-time job. This is what I eat, breathe, drink, live. I live Spirit Science. It is the thing that I am here for. And not just Spirit Science, but Spirit Mysteries and Spirit Studios and the work of the evolution of consciousness. This is why I'm here. And so I don't really have anything to miss. The truth is I've only ever had one other job in my life. And that probably makes me not a very good person to talk to as far as like recommending like life jobs or whatever. Because I only have one example, which is that I worked in the movie theater and I served popcorn and I ripped tickets and I swept Well, I was supposed to clean the theaters, but most of us just swept the old bags and gunk under the seats until the end of the night. And then I did the film reels up in the booth for a little while, getting the movies ready and running the film through the whole machine. That was a good time. But yeah, no, I quit that at the end of in the middle of college, I think. And then I was making video games, but that was my own job. So I've made a few video games. Maybe we'll do a live stream where we can play my old game. That'll be on the gaming channel. We'll play my old video games. They're terrible, but they're funny. And then I had this awakening, and I made spirit science. And it became like such a impassioned thing. Like I was like, this is the only thing that I'm good to do. This is the only thing I can do. And so I did my best for the first 9 years, really, of trying to figure out how to do spirit science and live, and not need to get another job. And there was a lot of struggle and a lot of lessons, a lot of things to learn, and a lot of hardships along the way. But I learned through all these mistakes, and now through sort of a divine experience, really. And I'm so grateful for Rhythmia, because they created the space where I had this mystical experience and met Thoth. He guided me to create Spirit Mysteries, this mystery school platform, and to make an environment for this whole thing to be able to grow. And so all of the videos, all of the content that we produce right now, it's all thanks to Spirit Mysteries, and things are going to just keep growing, and we're going to really take things to the next level over and over and over again, and spirit science is going to grow a lot. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. That's my video. That's our 2021 weaving a new narrative. It's time for a new story. What story are you telling yourself? What kind of life do you want to live? Ask yourself that question, and if you need help, let us know. Come and join Spirit Mysteries, and we'll see you there. Thanks for watching.